Yes, okay. Good morning to everybody. Good to see you again. And for those of you who never met me, I'm not Alexander Duran. My name is Marco Cardelli, and I'm Director of Product Management in Seattle for about performance. So it can be very useful. I've seen a dashboard of our data in one of these tools, and there are a lot of information, very deep level of tracking of each transaction. So it can be useful to when you want to analyze performance of the product in your IT environment. Another part of our strategy is always around what we call automation as code, which basically is trying to insert our definitions in your DevOps cycles if you are at DevOps cycles. And now the announcement that we delivered recently is the possibility to use the format, standard formats like YAML and JSON to import-export the definitions of the job streams, jobs, and all this stuff. So you can, from the command line, you can export the definitions in, for example, in JSON format. That can be an easier format to manage when you want to manipulate it, maybe writing code with that. So that's one possibility. And we are going to support PostgreSQL with our next release. So that was a requirement coming from many customers. It's an open source DB, so it's becoming more and more popular. Let's move to the box down on the left. We have a new major release coming for AWS 10.2, also on Z. Will be delivered December this year. So it's great news. There is still a lot of investment on the mainframe. You will see we have many specific items for the mainframe products. And also we are converging more and more to support the same kind of architecture. You will see that for the mirroring. I will talk more about that in a minute. And we have the announcements on the UI. I mentioned that already. We recently, with 10.2, we introduced the new orchestration monitor. So we revamped the monitoring views, the monitoring table views. And we are working right now to implement a new graphic modeling. So, you know, we have already delivered in 10.1 the new workload designer, but that's not a graphical view, let's say. So we also are implementing a graphic view, drag and drop UI for the modeling of the job streams. And I think Davide will show a mock-up, let's say, demo of that later, so that you can provide us with some feedback on what we are doing. This is meant especially for application developers. When you start to give the possibility to create job streams to the people that are actually developing the applications. So if you are announcing your organization to have the application developers writing their definitions on their own, not having just the scheduling team doing it, this could be a useful announcement because obviously this kind of modeling interface is much easier to use for people coming from application development. The fourth box is around our integrations. We talk a lot about that, but we get a lot of requirements on this. Customers don't want to write scripts anymore to orchestrate their applications. They want to use job types. If possible, ad hoc job types, like all cloud services that we are integrating with, or a lot of different applications that we are introducing. You will see more about that. But also using generic integrators that we have. We have the RESTful plugin and the Kubernetes plugin that can be used to, one for orchestrating any kind of applications that provides REST APIs to meter track the application itself, and Kubernetes for any containerized application. So rather than writing a script, they want to code the REST API calls in our job definitions. And that's the new way to write a script, basically. So it's also the way to deal with how you orchestrate the application is evolving with the new technologies. By the way, we have also introduced the possibility to orchestrate GenAI services. And that can be useful if you want to insert in your workflows, in your job streams, the usage of GenAI services for some specific purpose, and then retrieve the output and, process it with some other services. Right now, we support OpenAI and MyBios, and we are going to...
With Watson?
Watson, yeah, we want to integrate also with Watson X and perhaps other services. So we are enlarging the number of possibilities in that area.
Okay.
Yes.
Quick question before you go on. The traces,
Yes.
if you were using Prometheus as a farmer, then you were on the dashboard, and then the traces.
I think you mean like predefined dashboards?
Yes.
We will need to do it yet. We haven't done it, I think.
The traces are in open telemetry format.
Yes.
So you have to send them to a different system that's not Prometheus, not Grafana.
Yeah.
Okay.
With Prometheus, you just tell it what the URL is.
No.
To
Prometheus
gather
cannot create open telemetry format from traces. So they are for modeling purpose. The metrics are for modeling. Okay. The traces are for APM. Okay, so usually for open source tool, you could use Jaeger, for example, but more is Stana or something like that, because you can link all the call between all the components running with the RESTful web service and so on, from DWC to database and checking each component, what is the performance, the response time, and what is changing between them. So it's a different modeling tool that is more pointing and focusing on the performance, okay? Not on the aggregated metrics and how the system is up.
So you would show it in a completely different tool.
You need a different tool.
Well, there are tools that can get all of them, all the telemetry.
Yeah.
Like
Stana
is one of these, or I think Dynatrace Data, all of these tools can probably process all of them. Maybe Prometheus, no.
Prometheus, no. It's not made for that kind of
performance basis.
It's more for modeling.
Okay.
Jaeger is open source and you can send metrics to it.
So a few more, I already spoke about this, but just to give you a glance of the integrations, we have lots of cloud services also in roadmap, especially from the three main cloud providers, AWS, Azure, Google. Like, you can monitor queues, messages. We have integration with Lambda, AWS Lambda. We have Data Factory and Databricks for Azure, BigQuery, Dataflow, and other cloud functions. I mean, there are a lot of different cloud services that you can use through these integrations. We have big data and ETL like Snowflake, Informatica, DataStage. We have IT tools like Jira, Ansible, ServiceNow, Chef. We have obviously SAP, we are integrated with SAP and certified with SAP. Oracle in Business, and file transfer integrations. RPA, we do integrate with the main RPA tools like UiPath, Automation Anywhere, Blue Prism, and IBM RPA, even if it's not in this list. So there's lots of opportunities to integrate this kind of automation within workload automation.
Can I ask if there's a demand on WebEx, if anyone is using any of the new job types or planning to use any of the new job types?
Yeah, already.
Yes. Yeah.
Any other feedback from the, okay, transfer the what? Okay. So let's see the timeline of our deliveries. 10.2 came in July 23. And we started with that continuous delivery process. I have a slide just after this to talk about the duration of the releases and what's going to be the support strategy about that. We have an update. We have that discussion with IBM internal, so we have some news to share, even if we didn't announce it formally yet. But you will see, hopefully it's a better plan than what we had before. We released 10.2.2 in April, and we have our next important delivery at the end of October. We will have 10.2.3 on distributed, with the main items are the support of the Postgres SQL database and the DWC graphic modeling. So these are the two main, let's say, wows of our next release. In December, we will have 10.2 on Z. I will talk more about the concepts, but basically there are two big areas of announcements besides all the integrations that are common to all the engines. One is the plan mirroring and the support of the new orchestration monitor on the 4G. And the other, this is the big one from let's say, an effort point of view. And the other one is we are expanding in enhancing the cross dependencies. And this is important because there are a few customers that want to implement some kind of infinite scalability using multiple controllers interconnected with cross dependencies. We have customers that are running very heavy workloads. They have more than 1 million operations in one plan for just one controller, and they can work with the product. But they cannot go up to 1.5 million. It's a little too much for the architecture of the product. Even if we would fix some surge issues, they would run into more structural problems. So there's a limit beyond which, like around 800, 900,000 operations per day. If you go beyond that, the performance starts to degrade. So it's better, we suggest, to use multiple controllers interconnected with cross dependencies. So for that reason, we have a few customers who are doing that. And they requested some enhancements on the cross dependencies, like having all the matching criteria supported, not just right now the closest preceding we have for cross dependencies, and also improve a little bit the usability for monitoring purposes. So we are enhancing also cross dependencies. Next year, we have an outlook of a new release coming for 10.2 distributed in the March-April timeframe. We are looking right now, especially at the complex filters for monitoring queries. This is one of the most requested enhancements. And the possibility to implement filters that are not just in end as they are right now. You select a number of filters and then they all work together to the final result in an end condition, but more complex rules to filter and achieve more sophisticated results. We are looking also at the support of the CPU ARM64, so for a different hardware architecture. And probably at the same time, we are planning also to have an SPE on top of 10.240. Questions until now? Okay, a few more elements on the road. This is the duration and EOS. So when we started with 10.2 in continuous delivery, we announced the standard continuous delivery policies, which would be 2 years of duration for each release and plus the extension. Now we got the feedback from many customers that it's too short time frame. So we moved, we want to announce that. I don't know exactly how we will do it, probably with an RFA, a letter of announcement for our next 10.2.3 release. But basically, we are declaring that our statement is at least we will support every release for 3 years, so giving time to customers to upgrade. And for 10.2, they came just after, 1 year after 10.1, that is in still the traditional delivery policy. We know that 10.1 will be out of support for not before 2027. So we are planning to stay on 10.2 at least 1 year after 2027. So 10.2 will last longer than 10.1. This was something inconsistent that was coming from the different policies. So in the long run, we will have new releases with maybe a year or a little more longer than, and 2 years duration. And the reason why we are embracing this model, it's because also the other components that we use or that we have dependencies from are in a different evolution right now. So 3 years is already a long time for the technology right now. So we cannot stand to stay 5 years with one release, and we need to change continuously the prerequisite and all this stuff. It's becoming too difficult to do that. Products don't want to support dependencies on 5 years. So 3 years is a kind of compromise between the need for customers to upgrade in a reasonable time frame and the evolution of the products.
I'll be honest, Mark, over in the support for 9.5 this August. We've only just started doing 10.1. We're not going to do it by the end of August.
That's the announcement date, isn't it? That's not the actual end of
We are
announcing
year before.
announcing this year for next year.
Yes.
So we will go out of support with 9.5 in August or September 25.
Yeah, because I noticed you put that on the chat.
Oh, but that's wrong. Okay, so it's not end of service, it's announcement.
It's announcement of end of service. Because we discussed this in the last user group, and I know Paul
sorry about that.
in particular was particularly unhappy with 2 years. So it's been changed. So it's great.
Okay, fixed it.
Thank you.
It will be announced this year because the rule is to announce it 1 year before. Yeah, sorry. That's a typo, actually.
Okay, so how many people here are on 9.5?
So you plan to upgrade it to 10.1?
Yeah, we won't be going to 10 up to lose the support roughly then. So we decided to go to 10, not 1, because it was 5 years.
You already decided, I mean,
Yeah.
we are changing, so we changed the policy, so you might want to go directly to 10.2. No? Okay.
I mean, from our organisation, it takes us, as the guys know, it takes us multiple years to do a major upgrade.
You already started the business?
We were.
10.1, okay. That's the reason.
For the Z side, we've started 10.1 in the last couple of months.
Okay.
Now, at the moment, the initial plan is probably to complete all our controllers and trackers by sort of Q2 next year.
Okay.
Possibly we'll do a little bit advanced, but as Jonathan says, it takes us a good year to do an upgrade, to go through all the testing, and then roll it out across our estate. So,
Okay, but then, in general, I would suggest to think about upgrading every couple of years. Not say more than 2 years on the same release.
But in order to do that,
Yeah.
the product needs to have tools to allow customers to upgrade more quickly, but also to roll back as well. So just like we have in the Kubernetes world, where you have a container, you set a container up, or a new version of the container up with this problem, you can usually roll back to the previous version. In the virtualized server world, talking just for distributed people here, how do customers then indeed go back to the previous version? Unless you do a parallel install.
That way, one is the parallel, for sure.
But in order to do a parallel install, there's obviously additional infrastructure and all those sorts of things that
It's supposed to be designed.
it needs to be catered for by customers. But how will the product enable rollback, so an uninstall, to go back to the previous state? So if you're going from 9.5 to 10.1 or 10.2, you then find that you've got issues going back to 9.5.
Okay, from what I know, you can restore the old one.
Yeah, unless you take a VM snapshot.
No, also restore directly. On the same box, you can restore the previous version. So that is a
Scenario, okay, of upgrade that we usually do in our test. So you can roll back. Unless you are using some new feature, or there are some versions that changed a lot, and so you have to be more aware.
From 9.5,
it should be okay. 9.5 to 10 to not that 5, there's no problem.
Yeah.
With 10.2.1, if I remember correctly, there is a step that will not be rolled back automatically. Okay? That's the only case that is already stated inside the lock.
Okay.
That is, the problem is with the old certificate, because we changed the format and reduced the number of keys for a customer inside the system.
Yes.
Okay? So that is the only rollback that we cannot automate.
Okay.
But otherwise, you can as well install on the same box the previous version, it will work.
Okay. But that's half the problem, because I'm sure a lot of you, we found with our customers, you've got additional enhancements around IWS, whether it's scripts or those sorts of things that need thorough testing, and that's why it takes 2 years to upgrade. So does that mean that all of that effort that was previously done now becomes redundant moving forward, and a new way has to be found? And is that OCLI? If people have lots of scripts to do stuff within IWS, does that mean that all the Conman and Composer scripts that people have written become redundant and everything has to move to OCLI in order to be supported moving forward, but then also support the easy rollback? What's the recommended thing to do for customers?
currently, I'm not advocating removing any feature. So I don't see any issue because we are not changing the public interface that the customer currently uses. So if you're using controls inside the script, because it's still there, so you can use the tool paths you already use. So I don't see any issue in breaking changes in doing that. Okay. The problem could arise once we will remove compose and comma.
That is not currently
louder. I think people are
Okay.
Okay.
worried that they can't hear you.
Okay. So the problem could arise the day that we will remove compose, comma, and so on.
But that's not in plan currently.
That is not done. You will not see any problem.
But I know when people moved to 9.5, because of foldering, a lot of their scripts didn't work anymore. They had to,
So, no,
Why would that?
no,
because of foldering, because the new format of,
no, because
Very.
we support also the name with a folder. And the default is the root. We tested a lot of them. Still we are supporting the old format of that before.
Because they're using a composer primarily.
yes. So all of that had to be changed and then
No.
did and all that sort of stuff. But I don't think it's something we can answer here now. I think it needs a bit of thought. And with the changes, with the, the number of years the product's going to be supported, there needs to be additional things in there that helps customers to do their upgrades, and if it doesn't work, then roll back and all those sorts of things.
We can consider to
Yes.
do enhancements in that area. Maybe we need to have a separate discussion on this and understand what are the current points and what we can do to improve it.
Just that I know that every customer is concerned about doing upgrades and things like that. So
I have to say it's mostly depending on, not all the customers are the same. So there are different different ways to use the products, a different history, lots of different things. There are customers that can upgrade in 2-3 months, and there are customers that take at this moment still years. But there is a need of change for customers and for us. We need to work together to enable this kind of faster path. Because nowadays it's impossible to think about, the traditional 5 years duration, because it doesn't work simply.
Yeah.
You have to, at this point, you would introduce with fixed packs so many changes that it's the same as upgrading to a new release.
yes, and I think most people understand that.
Okay.
And I think what they're looking for is help in order to reduce the amount of time needed
Yes.
to do that.
Okay.
So I think that's more of a
Yeah.
safe way to see how.
Yeah, we need to have a fair discussion about that and understand what are the pain points.
Yes. Okay.
Oli,
Fine.
any other comments? We are going with the same model also for the 3 years of standard support plus extension. So that basically there will be a kind of convergence to have a reasonable compromise between the old traditional model and the new continuous delivery model that would state 2 years. We understand it's too short time frame, and we decided to go at least for 3. And for 10.2, it will be much more than 3, because we are going to realign with 10.1. But, basically we are in 2024, there are 3-4 years of time to find out which are the best enhancements to make the upgrade better and easier and faster, and for customers to modernize, make it more agile, maybe the way they perform the upgrade. We have 2-3 years of time to do that, and we need to work together with customers for this. I know it's not an easy path. It's difficult also to change the way you work with some usual, let's say, path around the product. But it's not actually our decision. It's how the technology is evolving. It's too fast to keep it in the same way for 5 years. Okay. Let me see. Which time do I have? Well, 30 minutes. I think we already talked about the self-service catalog in the past. Any question on this two specific feature? Anybody is using it? Okay, so none of you has the need to provide a simplified interface for users.
I think a better question is, why are you looking to use it? Too busy with what you're currently doing, you can't afford the bandwidth to support something else? Or is it not something you're looking to do?
Might be something we're not looking at.
Okay. Well, you simply probably don't have that kind of need. Right.
Most people I talk to were looking to do self-service, looking to do it outside of IWS.
So they're looking at automating that from other tools like ServiceNow or things like that.
Yes.
I'm not sure it's a very smart move because those tools maybe are not the best for that kind of automation, but it's something that we can support through REST APIs.
Yeah.
So I already mentioned that in 10.2 we delivered the new monitoring. Have you ever seen any demonstration about that? Your orchestration monitor, how it looks like? So the answer is no. Okay. So that's something that we probably should plan somehow, because I know that some of you are dealing with the fact that web admin is going out of support, and we need to perhaps, let's say, analyze again what could be your requirements, but based on the new latest technology that we are using. Then integrations to open tickets and perhaps stop the execution of the workflow waiting for an approval. So this is a requirement that we got, especially while using the self-service catalog. Some customers ask, why don't you allow us to have a first step where the service that is submitted as an approval is waiting for an approval from an external entity. And we did that by integrating with ServiceNow and Jira. So basically you can have a job in your workflow that is opening a ticket to ServiceNow, and we complete the job. The job will complete only when the ticket is closed. So basically there is an approval ongoing. When the ticket is closed, the execution can start. So that's a way to implement human in the loop workflows. I already mentioned the RESTful plugin. We are investing a lot of this because many customers want to use it to integrate with any applications, basically, rather than using other ways to orchestrate it. AI Data Advisory, is any of you started using it, this component delivered with 10.1? I don't think so. So let's click this one. Okay. Let's see. An important announcement that came with 10.2.1 is the security. I know that it's not the most, let's say, popular feature that we delivered, but it was necessary because we had to enhance the security with supporting OpenSSL 3. SSL 1 is going out of support. So here we basically are trying to comply with the most recent security rules. So there's not much we can do about it. It's not on our control to decide which are the rules. Certificates are the new rule. Basically, we removed in this release the GS kit. And obviously this is enhancing security, make it safer, but certificates are a little different to manage, and I think there has been an effort already to try to simplify the usage of the certificates, and we are doing more in that area. So why we did it? Because it was necessary. Did we did it from the beginning in the best way? Not necessarily. We can improve the management of the certificates. So this is going to be better and better. On the Z side, still on temporary one, we delivered an SPE with a few announcements and integration with JCL Expert that I don't think is very much used right now. It's an IBM tool for editing and checking JCL syntax. We started with the first phase of AI-infused scheduling, but I'll talk more about that in another slide. And we started delivering this workbench to develop user exits in Metal C. So this is caused by the fact that it's becoming more and more difficult to find on the market assembler skills. We have user exits that are used a lot from customers to customize specific scenarios, and we want to make it easier to do and to manage. And if we could use Metal C, that is let's say a specific type of C that is complying with assembler rules. So basically, the interface of the exit has not changed. What we are delivering is another version of the samples that can coexist with the previous ones that are in assembler. As an alternative, you can use the C sample to code the user exit as you wish. So this is an alternative. It's coming with a workbench, so a way to basically configure the environment for compiling and so on. It's not changing anything in the controller because we are not using standard C with language environment. So it's a Metal C, so it follows the same same rules, same coding rules of assembler. So the registers for the interface are exactly the same. So it's compatible with assembler. And there is no performance degradation because there is no creation of language environment and so on. So it's an alternative. Some customers are very interested from this because they don't have any more people with assembler skills. It's a possibility. And we are basically, we have delivered a subset of of the user exits sample, and we are going to complete it in the next deliveries. We already mentioned the services. So that's already. Let's look at what we are delivering at the end of the year. Postgres SQL database, we already mentioned that. The graphic modeling, Davide will show a mock-up demo for that and get your feedback. More integrations, as you can see, we have a lot of integrations in our list. And the two, three items for the mainframe part. Let's go a little bit more into details we already talked a lot through the distributed announcement. let me give a few minutes to the mainframe announcements. So this is the AI-infused scheduling feature. I'm not sure if you heard that, but from ZOS 3.1, IBM has delivered an AI engine on the mainframe, a low-code AI engine. So we've been discussing the last maybe couple of years this strategy with Systemd, with the people, the architects from the OS, JES, WLM, and so on. So the idea is to optimize the execution of the jobs on the mainframe through AI. And this is a very interesting project. The basic idea is that the system needs to have to know in advance, let's say, or to have historical information about the jobs that are repeated periodically. So normally you have a number of jobs that are scheduled, so they're planned and are always the same, executed more or less with the same run cycles, and those are predictable in a way, mostly. Others are dynamically executed, so perhaps you cannot predict those. But the batch scheduling, the base of the batch scheduling can be predicted. So to do that, the system needs to know the job identity, so needs to know when you are submitting the same job again, let's say, another instance of the same job. So this is up to the scheduler to understand. And the other point is that the system needs to keep track of historical data execution of the jobs. And using this, by correlating the execution of the new jobs with the historical data, they can optimize the execution on the system through WLM and JES, prepare the initiators, prepare the environment, decide in a better way on which system the job should be executed. So it's a very interesting idea, using AI for this purpose. There are two phases. Obviously, this comes with the scheduler working together with the system. It's nothing that one of the two can do on its own. We will be one of the first schedulers to use this new feature. We delivered the first small part on 10.1 last December. It's the early submission to JES of jobs that can be started but have still a time dependency. So they have everything resolved but the time dependency. In that case, we can submit the job ahead of time to JES using a symbol that is called syshold_until to tell the system to respect the time dependency. With this, the system is able to prepare for the execution of that job. So the execution can be more effective. So this is a small first part of the announcement. The largest one will come with ZOS next release and announcements on our product. We will identify jobs that are periodically executed with a token that will be passed to the system. The system will save SMS data for the execution of that specific job. We keep the history, and when we submit the job, we use the same token, and the system will know about that job and will be prepared to handle it. So this is the basic idea. Second phase is expected between end of 2025 and 26, let's say. Instead, let's go to something that is coming in next December on 10.2.1z. So we are expanding the cross dependencies feature to support, first of all, to increase the visibility of the shadow jobs. So is any of you using cross dependencies?
Yeah.
Okay. Between distributed and Z or between, okay. So.
We do there are a few between different Z engines.
Okay.
But it's mainly between distributors.
So we want to enhance a little bit the visibility of the shadow job and enhance the criteria, the matching criteria. Right now on Z we support only the nearest preceding input arrival time. But we have customers that have trouble with that because they have more instances of the same job in the, you have that problem?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's going to be a good enhancement also for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you can specifically pick up an interval for the resolution of dependencies. So, okay. So this is coming between the end of the year and perhaps the first SD, depending on what we...
What do you mean by point? One, that 5 life also.
Excuse me?
Showing the origin side, operation endurance, relation to shadow job.
It's about the information you show. On the origin side, if you have a cross dependency from a shadow job operation, some customers think that they don't have all the information related to the remote job. So they want to get more information about that.
Yes, if you're setting up an external preset, you'd be able to select it and then select your framework. Yeah, it doesn't do that on the remote.
Yeah, people have been asking questions.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Where?
Hi, Neil. Hello. Hi there. Just stepping back a sec to the pre-submission of jobs, independent jobs. Can you set it so that it'll only submit a certain length of time beforehand? Because as soon as it's submitted, obviously you've then lost control of it within TWS. So you don't want it to be submitted an hour before or whatever. You might want to only submit it.
No, okay, I'm not specifying here all the parameters that you can configure, but basically you can configure the interval. So it's a matter of 1 minute or something or so.
Okay.
So actually we are talking about a very short interval.
Yeah.
But there's a way to configure it.
Sorry?
Did I answer your question?
Yes, you did. Thank you.
Okay, sure. No problem. So the mirroring, this is very important. Why? We know that when you do heavy queries from the dynamic workload console especially, but also, from APIs or things like that, it has an impact on the controller. And most of these queries are related, are general, very general. You don't need to have the status up to date, in milliseconds. So having a mirror of the plan on a relational database and moving those queries directly to the database is going to improve a lot performance on one side of the queries, and on the other side, of the controller, because you don't have to query the JSON files for that. Most of the queries are done for, monitoring queries. You don't need to change anything. You just want to check the status of the jobs. So why doing that on the controller and degrading the performance of the controller? If we can have a copy of the plan data of the most important plan data for the queries, so jobs, job streams, and workstations in a relational database, and then keep it up to date with a little delay in comparison to the list.
What's the delay on
Should be a matter of, milliseconds, seconds, yeah, 0 seconds for sure.
Is there an overhead on that though, reflecting that from Z to DWC?
Excuse me?
Is there an overhead in terms of reflecting? I mean, we've got
Okay.
jobs in the current plan.
No, I understand, but keeping them up to date on the database is asynchronous. So you have events that are sent to the component that is called the federator.
Yeah.
Yes, it's
That name.
yeah, federator. It's because also the distributed part will use this in the future, but this is starting on the mainframe. So what happens is that when the plan is created, there's a kind of bulk creation of objects on the federator. And then while the controller executes the plan, send events also to the federator to keep up to date with the status and the most important fields. So when you do the query, if it's a query on this kind of objects, it doesn't go to the controller. It goes directly to the database. So on one side, you get an improvement of performance from the controller, because if you have 1,000 users doing queries of thousands of jobs, you will stack the controller. But on the BB, you don't have the same kind of problem. And on the other hand, also, you should have an improvement of performance also on the DWC. The delay should be reasonable. So should be acceptable because you're monitoring, you're not doing this continuously. And on the other hand, this is also going to allow more enhancements because we use REST API root version 2 that are already available for distributed. And so we will support the new orchestration monitoring, the new views on the monitoring side will be available also for Z. And when we implement the new filters, that was impossible with the vSAN files because, you know, doing a very complicated filtering on vSAN files means that you do a lot of I/O and you impact the controller. But doing that on the database is trivial. So there will be more enhancements that can come with this plan mirroring.
So this is important. What's more, the orchestration module is faster than the older module part. So you will get a lot of performance improvement only for using the orchestration module.
And also the new graphic modeling will be implemented for October only for the distributed side, but then implementing the new version of the API also for the database, we will be able to use it also for Z. So there will be more common enhancements for the two engines. And these queries will be used also for the multiple engine queries as soon as the distributed part will implement the same mirroring. So it's going to be a common feature. We started with the main thing, we come with the other pieces.
But also if you have multiple controllers. Also, if you have multiple controller and cross dependency, you could merge them directly from a single point.
Exactly. So I think this is important. It's also okay. 4 minutes late, not much. Any question before I close? Any feedback on the roadmap?
Okay. Why don't we take a break for 10 minutes? But before we all go, I actually had a question for not just people in the room, but also online. Who's using, in the distributed world, who's using AIX for their masters and DWC servers today? If you could raise your hands if you're online. Okay, that's one. Yeah. Okay.
You know that with 10.2 we deprecated the master on AIX. So in theory, our idea is with the next release we will not deliver the master on AIX. Is that a problem for any of you?
I know that is for another customer. I'm compiling a list of customers that are using AIX.
Okay. But for the master. For the master.
For the master and the DWC.
Okay. Okay, let us know that because obviously we can deal with, depends on how many customers are using it and if that's a problem for them or not. Maybe they are using AIX, but it's not a big issue for them to use another platform.
Another one raised there?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's two on the call and one other that I know of.
Okay.
So that's three, but I'm sure there'll be others as well.
Okay. But also let us know if it's a problem for you to switch to another platform or it's a blocking issue. That's the point. I mean, knowing that they are using currently AIX for the master is okay, but is it a big deal to change to a Linux platform or not? So that's the point. I mean, if there are customers who consider that's a big issue, then we can discuss.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Stay care.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So Ben in the US is using AIX currently, but he is in the process of trying to figure out how he can move to a Linux environment. So long term, I don't think that'll be a problem.
Okay, thanks, Dean.
Okay, let's take a 10-minute break. We'll start again at 4 past.